So to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Sevet Johnson serves as the County Executive Officer for the County of Ventura. In her role, she oversees 27 county agencies and departments with an operating budget of $2.7 billion and nearly 10,000 staff members. Dr. Johnson joined the county in 2009 and previously served as the Chief Deputy Director of the county's healthcare agency and Director of the county's behavioral health department, overseeing the county mental health plan, serving approximately 18,000 clients annually through outpatient services. She is a licensed clinical psychologist and previously taught psychology as an adjunct professor at Cal Lutheran and the University of Phoenix. Dr. Johnson received her doctorate in clinical psychology from Alliant International University, Los Angeles, master's degree in clinical psychology from Pepperdine University, and bachelor's degree in English language and literature from the University of Massachusetts. Dr. Johnson is committed to diversity and equity and passionate about serving underserved populations while ensuring that the consumer's voice is heard and valued. So with that being said, I'm going to introduce Dr. Sevet Johnson.
Good evening, everyone. And first of all, I want to say thank you for the invitation to be here. I do appreciate it. I get inspired when I see young leaders who are active and engaged in public policy, because we need future leaders to do the jobs that many of us are doing right now. Before I start, I have to say it was a pleasant surprise, but I was really surprised by a couple of our staff that are here. We have our Senior Deputy, Scott Powers, and one of our planners from our planning division, Joel. And then Dr. Lois Santamaria, who I used to work with when I was over the behavioral health department. So just wanted to say hello. It's always nice to see friendly faces when you're talking somewhere. So you heard my bio, which wasn't really brief, PJ. I'll just say that. It was kind of long. So I don't know how much more to talk about myself, but first, I think I want to talk about what does a county CEO do? Because I get that question a lot. Like, most people are always saying, what does a CEO do? Why is there a CEO of the county? What does that mean? And it's actually a really, really good question. I think most people, if you're not in local government or aspiring to be in local government, there's maybe not a real good reason for you to have researched that or really drilled down into what that function is. We are in Ventura County a general law county, meaning that we have 5 independently elected board of supervisors, each representing a different district. And so we have our chair of the board is Supervisor Matt Levere, Ventura, Ojai. District 2 is Supervisor Jeff Burrell, Thousand Oaks, Camarillo. District 3, Supervisor Kelly Long, Camarillo. District 4, Supervisor Janice Hartman, which is CME, Moore Park. And District 5 is Supervisor Vianney Lopez, Oxnard, Port Hueneme, Channel Islands, Cal State University, Channel Islands. And those 5 individuals set the policy for our county, right? And so they determine what are the priorities that they're going to work on, and that then we as staff drive forward. So my job is that I serve at the pleasure of the board, and I take their policy and we create steps in order to implement it at the staff level so that it benefits the constituents that live here in the county. I have to say, because it's absolutely true, that there's nothing that I do that's magic. It's really not. I have a team around me in the CEO's office, and I have agency directors that are over their agencies that literally do cartwheels and unicorn circles every single day. They're absolutely amazing, because in the county, we get faced with so many different things. We have 2 hospitals. We have over 80 primary and specialty health clinics. We have our fire protection district that covers the whole county. We have the sheriff's office, probation. We have the jail system and a juvenile hall. We have the Human Services Agency that helps to link people to the different services that they may need, whether that's protective services or child welfare, or if it's someone who needs to be adopted or be fostered because their living situation with their biological parents was not suitable, it was not safe for them. We have the area on aging, the area on aging. We have behavioral health and public health, which most people now know about because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Before COVID, most people didn't know there was public health, didn't care about it, and now that's a big thing because they became really visible as we faced just an unprecedented time. So we have all these different agencies and we have all these different people that are working together in order to, one, drive the policy of the Board of Supervisors, and two, do things like ensure that our roads are safe. That's our Public Works Department. We have environmental health and under resource management, we have planning if someone's trying to build a house or if they need to get permits. All those critical functions that we just do without really thinking about sometimes, they all have to be managed and governed in a way. And so that's the role that I serve currently. We also have priorities that are set forth by our board. So currently, some of the priorities of our Board of Supervisors is addressing homelessness and those that are unhoused. It's looking at housing and specifically affordable housing in our county and ensuring that we are trying to bring on more affordable housing units for individuals that need them and that may be at risk of homelessness or homeless. It's making sure that there is access to healthcare and social services. And when I say access to healthcare and social services, it's not just, okay, there's a building at this place and you can go because it's open from 8 to 5. It's also ensuring that people that live maybe 20 miles from that building have either a satellite or have transportation in order to get the care that they need, right? Because just having a building somewhere that people can't readily access doesn't do the public any good. So those are some of the and I have to throw in there, sustainability. Sustainability is a really big one. We have a climate emergency plan. We have a sustainability team, and they do a lot of work to make sure that we're leaving our county in better condition for generations to come. So those are some of the high level things that we work on almost every single day. And those are things that are at the forefront of my mind, at least all the time. I know PJ asked me to talk about some of the challenges that we face, and some of the challenges coincide with some of our priorities. Homelessness is a big issue. And I know sitting next door to LA County, our numbers may not be what theirs are, but in our last homelessness count, we had about 2,400 people that were unhoused. So that's something that we're really doing a deep dive into. We've got a consultant on board that is really talking to all of our partners, our community-based organizations. That looks like shelters and homeless service providers, are talking to our elected officials, our cities, and trying to understand what can we do in order to really impact those numbers and decrease the number that are unhoused in our county, whether that's streamlining efforts, putting staff closer to the people that are unhoused, or if there are other models because other communities are facing these same challenges. And so looking at what can we bring right here to our county to really impact that. We talk about all the needs that are coming up with our youth in our schools. And so something that we've done in the past couple of years, since 2020 actually, is we've been adding wellness centers to many of our campuses. And we started with just high school campuses, then now it's expanding to middle school campuses. And those wellness centers are a place where our young people can go and have a safe space to talk about what's going on at home, to process different things that may be happening at school. Bullying is a thing. Online bullying is even a bigger thing with our middle school students we found. Rates of depression, anxiety, and suicide have skyrocketed since the pandemic in our middle school and high school students. So all those are things that we are very in tune and looking at and wanting to address through those wellness centers. So those are just a couple of the challenges that we face. We face many, many more, but those are a couple of the challenges that we face. And in my head, creative solutions of ways to look at what are we doing, right? Because we always want to make sure that we are open to reflection, to hearing from our stakeholders, our constituents, and to adjusting, being agile and changing things if we're doing something that we're seeing is not having the impact that we desire or that we thought it would have in order to get better. A fun thing, I say a fun thing, is that we have Board of Supervisors meetings about every 2 weeks, right? So about twice a month, we have a Board of Supervisors meeting. And in those meetings, I always tell people you need to go and just watch one in person, in the room. Because what you'll see is how policy is made. You'll see the dialogue that goes on with our elected officials, and as they're talking to their colleagues and debating sort of, their reasoning for voting yes or no or supporting something. And you'll hear about all of the amazing work that happens in the county. You hear staff presenting about different projects that they've been doing and giving status updates. You hear staff coming and giving proposals for different initiatives that they want to move forward with. You're hearing about grants that they've received for different things that they want to do, whether it's fire or sheriff or public health or planning. And it's amazing to hear just the variety of things that are happening all in one place at the same time. And all the people that it takes to keep all those balls that they're juggling in the air. So I just want to say to all of you that, one, it's really inspiring that you all are here and excited about public policy, because that's a good thing. We need future leaders to come and do our jobs very soon, right? Because we're aging workforce, so we need young blood to be ready to come. And PJ, I'm going to steal everybody who's thinking about going to the city of Moore Park from you, because we need you at the county. Shameless plug. But I'm really serious, is that if you have a vision and if you have a desire to serve your community, to work among the people that are making decisions for the county that you live in or that you want to live in, I would really, really encourage you to, one, look and see if there's any internships that are available at the county that is a passion area for you. Or if that's not an option, I really encourage you to, reach out to people to sort of understand what is available there, because there's so many different positions and so many different fields that I like to tell people, whatever you think you want to do, there's probably a job at the county for you. And we welcome new ideas, new thoughts, new perspectives. That's what keeps the county going, and that's what keeps our county, what I believe to be just an absolutely amazing place. So I'm going to stop there because I'm looking at the clock, and PJ did tell me 5 to 7 minutes, and I know I can be verbose at times, but I'm not going to be right now. Is it okay if I ask if anyone has questions? Yes. Okay. So I would love, if anyone has questions, I would love to answer them for you. If you're willing to, yeah.
Question is part of the mental health with you. What are we doing to look at nutritional measures as a preventative for mental health?
That's a great question. So her question was, what are we doing to look at nutritional methods? She used a different word, nutritional alternatives to wellness and mental health. Options plans, I paraphrase.
Ventura County looking at nutritional methods to prevent mental instability.
So what I would say is Ventura County looking at nutritional methods to prevent mental instabilities. I think that's more of a function that our public health department is actually serving. So our public health department, they do a community survey, they do a big push for healthy eating, nutritional needs, and how that connects with a child's development, adolescence growth. And so our public health department actually would be the ones who are doing that more than the mental health department. Our mental health department, they don't have nutritionists, they don't have dietitians, they really have social workers, therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists. We would lean on our partners at public health, who they actually have a really good relationship with. The nice thing about our county is that we have an umbrella of the healthcare agency, and under that umbrella, you have the hospitals, you have the clinics, you have public health, behavioral health, and our healthcare plan, and they work very closely together, and they're in communication. And so if there is a question or a thought of someone needing a different kind of alternative or options, they can do a referral to public health, and the public health nurses would then assess, is there something else that may be happening here? Is nutrition a barrier to them being their whole self? And they would work with that family to educate them. And if needed, if there's a say an instance of food insecurity for whatever reason, they would link them to the Human Services Agency to ensure that they have the resources they need to feed their children, so that they can perform at their optimal levels. So it's really the public health department that would lead that, but it could be instigated by mental health department. You're welcome. That's a really good question. Does anyone else have a question?
Good question. I think there's some questions about like work-life balance, how to manage that, especially some of the work positions.
Yeah, work-life balance. That's an interesting one. I think someone said to me, and I can't remember who it is, but they said something like, it's not work-life balance, it's work-life harmony, right? Was it you, Dr. Samaria?
No, we had this discussion and.
We just had, yeah, because honestly, it's to say that there's a balance, it would almost be fraudulent to say that. I have a job that's 24/7. I get phone calls and texts in the middle of the night and something happens. Something happens almost every night. I work on the weekends a lot because we have a lot of events. We do a lot of community outreach. I go to different things like this in the evenings. And that is something that I've, worked into my life, right? And so for me, it's really about when I'm home, I am home. I am 100% tuned in. I have 2 kids, so when I'm home, and if I'm reading with them, I'm going to finish reading with them for that 20 or 30 minutes. If I'm helping them with their homework, I'm going to finish doing that. And when they go to sleep, I may sign back on and type some things or send some emails. So I do a lot of work when it's dark in my house because that means everyone else is asleep and they don't know that mommy's working, right? But it's hard to say there's a quote unquote balance. I think sometimes when you're in positions, it's the sacrifice that you do make given that kind of position that you're in. And I think most people have to be aware of what their healthy or unhealthy is to make sure that they're not bordering on unhealthy, because you may have to take a weekend to yourself where you say, I'm not going to any events this weekend. I have to just rest, or I have to spend this time with my children. And so I will do that from time to time where it's like, this weekend, I'm going to just be at home. And, my assistant CEO will go to an event or someone else will go to the event. And it's teamwork. We have teams for a reason and everyone can carry different parts of that. So it's not always on me to do everything. I have an amazing team and they'll say, you know what, you've done too much, or let me do this for you. And I'm willing to accept that help because I don't think that I can do it all. I don't want to be Superwoman. And I really appreciate having a team that looks out for me and they can remind me when, yeah, you worked every night this week. Maybe you should, stay out for this one and we'll cover it. And I'll accept that help. Thank you for that. Yes.
It's been a while for us, sorry. You don't recognize me behind the mask. But I am gonna give you a shameless plug because when you and I first met, we met at a community meeting in, was it Fillmore, Santa Paula? Santa Paula, right? And you had just started at behavioral health. And there were some real concerns in the Heritage Valley that they were kind of like the forgotten stepchild of the county. The hospital had recently closed. There was a lack of services coming in because of that hospital closure. There were no alternative locations for services to be provided and distributed to community members. There were issues with transportation, or issues with just about any issue that you can think of. Unhoused, food insecurity, mental health, physical health, transportation, all sorts of stuff. And I think we have finally gotten to a point in the Heritage Valley where we are back to stable. And I think that is in large part of the work that you did when you were director at behavioral health. But also I think in your transition to county CEO and stepping in during all that instability, I think having been at the state after a period of instability, having been one of the stable folks that entered state service during the period of sort of recuperation after that instability. I know where you've been. I appreciate where you've been. I have an immense amount of gratitude for you being willing to put yourself into the line of fire in some ways. But I would like for you to talk, because I think the students that I have worked with and that I've had in my classes, both here and at other universities, don't quite know what they're getting into when they step into these positions. And sometimes as a professor, it's very hard to convey that to folks. So I would like to give you props for helping us stabilize the Heritage Valley and really bring that back into the county and bring those much needed services into that area. But I'd also like you to talk about how that immense challenge turned into like just an amazing accomplishment for this county.
Well, thank you. I appreciate those comments. And you made me think of something I had thought about as a chat. That was a challenge. So what she's referring to is that she's talking about a community meeting we held. I organized a town hall because people were really, really upset. And when I say people were upset, I mean, they were sending emails and, I mean, hollering, and people were really, really upset because they felt forgotten. And I organized and had a lot of people come out, and we presented on either the services that were being provided or that were coming. And we did a number of interventions. We did pilots, meaning just do it. We didn't, you know, we skipped the planning, and it was a situation, it was a crisis where we have to make this happen now. And we don't have 3 months to plan it. We have to quickly figure out, what do we think will work? How do we cut out all these steps? And let's do it. And literally we would meet every week with the treatment team to say what's working, what's not working, what do we need to tweak, and we communicate that out. Because we were in a situation where we did not have the time to wait months to get something going, and then to do a small pilot, and then to wait 6 months for a report back. That could not happen. It just would not be tolerated, and for good reason, right? And so there were some very vocal and passionate and adamant community activists who were very clear about holding me extremely accountable to make sure this work was done in a culturally sensitive way, and in an expedient manner. And we were able to engage those activists and advocates and community members, sit down with them at the table, engage them in those weekly meetings so they have full transparency and insight into what we were doing, why we were making the decisions we were making. When we were wrong, we owned up to it and said, you're right, we messed up, let's tweak it, let's do it this way, and let's see what it works like. I did coffee hours every week where community members could come and drop in. And I sat there, and if they were upset, I took it. If they were happy, I took it. If they were indifferent, we took it. But we were very intentional about being responsive to the needs of that community, and not just doing it until we got it right and then saying, okay, we're out, but staying in there and making sure that those interventions that were successful became policy. And that became the standard of care for that clinic. And it didn't matter that we didn't do that in any other clinic, because that's what was needed there, right? And I have to tell you, I have pretty good relationships with most of those people that at one point were very, very, very upset and very vocal, and literally wanted to chop my head off sometimes because they didn't think I was going to come through, and they didn't think it would continue. And that was a great lesson for me, right? Because it was always learning about being here to listen, being here to learn, not assuming I understand this culture because it's different from every other culture, because every subset of a population has their nuances and the ways that they may want things done. And you can only learn that by listening to them and learning from them. And it also taught me that sometimes the people who are your biggest critics can become your greatest supporters, right? And it doesn't mean that we agree on everything. It just means that through executed tasks, interventions, and successive programs, they understand that when I say I'm going to do this, that's what I mean, and I'm going to do everything I can to do it. And if I'm not successful and I can't do it, it's because there's something flawed, and we have to change course and figure it out together. And working together with communities and local government is the only way you are going to see success. You are not going to come to the community with a plan and say, here, this is going to work for you. That is never going to work. You always have to, from the very beginning, engage those communities, engage whatever population you're going to be going into, learn about them, hear about them, listen to them. And if you do that, you may take some heat sometimes, but things are not always going to go right. But at the end of the day, people will know that they were here to learn, they were here to listen. And even if it wasn't 100% right, it wasn't because I was not heard. And people want to be heard, they need to be heard, and they absolutely deserve to be heard. So thank you for bringing that up. One word, it's something, but